Cool. I think we can get started now. Um, I think everyone can see me. All right. So, hey, you all. Thank you all for coming to our event today. I hope you've had a great summer, but now that school's starting, we're starting to get back to the flow of things. We've partnered up DS3 with HDSI to put on this ramp up for recruitment series events. Essentially, just a couple of events to get prepared for the upcoming virtual recruiting fairs and just different opportunities. So before that, I just want to give you guys a brief introduction on what DS3 is, just so that you can just so that you can know about the club. So the Data Science Student Society, or DS3, is a student organization created in order to be a hub for all students interested in data science, regardless of their skill level or major. The goal of our organization is to provide resources and a community where UC San Diego students can learn about new data science tools and further their career. So we hold both social and professional events throughout the school year where students can connect with other students with similar interests, meet with industry professionals, and build their data science skill set. We have a Medium blog, which has a variety of articles on different topics in order to immerse students in the diverse facets of data science, as well as a podcast where we interview industry professional and UCSD data science faculty members. We also host workshops throughout the school year where students can learn and develop their technical skills in data science and machine learning. So with us today, we have Margaret Zolke, the HDSI career advisor, and today she'll be going over how to use your LinkedIn for virtual recruitment. So again, thank you again, Margaret, for hosting this event for us.
All right, thanks Ayush. Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. As Ayush mentioned, I am Margaret Zolke and I'm the Career Advisor and Alumni Relations Specialist for the Halijolu Data Science Institute. Some of you may recognize me as I was the first advisor for the undergraduate data science program. While being an advisor, I went through a training program which led to a national certification as a career advisor. With our first graduating cohort this last spring, the Institute saw a need for continued support of our alumni as well as specific career advising for our current undergraduate students. Our director, Dr. Rajesh Gupta, has always been committed to individual advising for data science students at UC San Diego, and I see my new role as an opportunity to offer just that. So to clarify, my appointments are offered to current data science majors and HDSI alumni only, but students outside of the major are welcome to submit specific data science career questions to the data science department through the virtual advising center. Since I typically only work with data science majors and alumni, I'm very excited to team up with the Data Science Student Society to offer support to all UC San Diego students interested in a career in data science through our Ramp Up for Recruitment series that Ayush mentioned. So to go a little bit more in depth into the series, and for those of you who aren't aware, this workshop is the first of the Ramp Up for Recruitment series. Next Wednesday, you will have the opportunity to hear from Nick Singh, a former employee of Facebook, Microsoft, and Google, on how to ace the data science interview. The following week, I'll lead our final workshop on how to craft an effective elevator pitch in preparation for the UCSD Science and Technology Career Fair happening the week after that on October 7th. While we haven't officially announced it yet, HDSI and DS3 are also teaming up for a Data Science Talent Day on October 15th. There will be more information coming soon, but make sure you mark your calendars and use this ramp-up time to your advantage as the recruiting season kicks off. Given that the recruitment season will be virtual this year, employers are going to be using LinkedIn more than ever before. To set yourself up for success, it's extremely important to understand how to use LinkedIn to your advantage. Therefore, today's workshop will focus on three main aspects of LinkedIn: how to create a strong profile, how to use LinkedIn for job searching, and how to maximize and optimize your connections within LinkedIn. During a typical recruitment season, you only have a few minutes with a recruiter. You've been waiting in a long line, people are nervous, maybe a little aggressive, and maybe people have nudged you or cut in front of you. You had to wake up super early to stand in line and you're feeling off your A game, or maybe you came straight from a pop quiz and that impacted your confidence. For our more introverted students, maybe you're just overwhelmed by the entire event itself. All of these things can impact your interactions with recruiters during a live career event. But with LinkedIn now being used for virtual recruitment, you have complete control over the first impression you give a recruiter. And the more effective your profile is, the stronger your first impression will be. I'm a big believer in practicing what you preach, so I've actually used my own profile as an example for recommended changes. The great thing about LinkedIn is that they have done a ton of updates since we've all gone virtual to help you make your profile more effective. So first things first, if you are seeking an internship or a full-time position, you need to make sure you select the option to show that you are open to work. As you build your network, this shows people who may not know you, but who may be interested in recruiting you, that you are an available candidate. If you have a current internship, but you are interested in exploring other opportunities, you have control over who sees that you are open to work. This is one of my biggest recommendations for any student to make in preparation for the upcoming recruitment season. Now, once you've shown that you are open to work, you need to make sure your contact information is updated so that recruiters know how to get in touch with you. Please make sure that the contact information on your resume is consistent with the contact information on your profile to avoid confusion for recruiters. Some people have the same exact name, and sometimes an email address is the only way recruiters can differentiate between applicants. Many students ask me, how can I make my top skills stand out on my resume? With this skills section on LinkedIn, this section does just that for you. Be sure to customize the way these skills are listed on your profile so that the most impressive skills are the ones seen. For example, I was recently working with a student and they had data science, communication, and English listed as their top skills. While these are important, they are not the most relevant for the types of roles he was looking for. Once he was able to customize this section, his top skills were then listed as data science, machine learning, communication. This new order gives recruiters a much better understanding of his potential talent and contributions to the company than the way it had been previously listed. Another great feature within this section is that LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to prove that you actually have the skills that you have listed on your profile. To do so, simply complete an online quiz, and once completed, there will then be a badge on your profile verifying your skill listed. You can control who sees the results, so you can use this feature for your own personal development to see how well you do on your assessment, or you can use this as a tool to verify to employers that you do have the competency communicated both on your resume and on your profile. So I really see LinkedIn as an opportunity to humanize your resume. The About section is your chance to let the employer know who you are, what you're looking for, and what goals you have. For myself, my goal of being a career advisor is to help people understand their potential and accomplish their goals. I know it can sometimes be uncomfortable to talk about yourself or to articulate your strengths and goals, so I'll tell you a little secret. The sentence I have listed in my About section actually came from a skill assessment I completed, and this was the way my top strength was articulated. When I bring up skills assessments, not everyone is a huge fan, but to be completely honest, this personal understanding is actually one of the main areas where I see weakness within STEM students. There is a lot of attention and value placed on technical skills and none placed on softer skills, such as communication, teamwork, listening, curiosity, and a desire to learn. The funny thing is your technical skills will land you the interview, but these softer skills, and more importantly, an understanding of how your soft skills can serve as strengths within the workplace are what land you the position. And that's not just me saying that. That is literally a quote from one of the top data scientists that I've worked with. I consistently hear this from CEOs and lead data scientists, that when they are interviewing entry-level candidates, they are more focused on behavioral traits than on the technical skills, because it is much more important to see that a person has the right mindset for approaching how to solve a problem or overcome an obstacle than it is for that person to always get the right answer. When you're learning these technical skills in the classroom, you are given a predictable problem with an expected outcome. When you're applying these skills outside of the classroom, it's not as clean cut, and it's important that you know how to communicate your thought process, problem solve and work together with your team, and articulate your results to multiple audiences so that the information can be used by the company as a whole. So in summary, doing a skills assessment to help you identify your strengths, to include in the About section of your profile is a great way to maximize this section, but I strongly recommend that you complete a strengths assessment to set yourself up for success beyond LinkedIn. I have quite a few that I could recommend and one that's my favorite, so if that's something that you're interested in exploring further, please send me a message through your virtual advising center. Another opportunity to differentiate yourself is your banner photo. So if you currently have this default banner that looks exactly like the one you see on your screen, my advice is to change it immediately. These small changes may not seem important, but not changing them shows a lack of caring and a lack of attention to detail. Again, your profile is your chance to introduce yourself to a recruiter on your terms. My recommendation is to change this picture to something within the field that you're interested in, a place that is special to you, or even a quote that summarizes your goals or outlook on life. Here, you can see that I updated my banner to a quote that is aligned with my About section. Again, the specific photo is not as important as just taking the time to customize your profile to be unique and to give a glimpse into who you are as an individual. Now, the interest section is comprised of influencers, companies, groups, and schools that you follow. So imagine if you're a recruiter and you see that a candidate has your company listed as an interest. To me, that would show that you are engaged and connected into our company and the information that we are sharing. Additionally, this will only serve as an advantage to you, as many companies have been promoting new opportunities and announcements on their LinkedIn pages. In an ideal world, you would follow a company of interest, you would receive an update when that company posts an available opportunity, and you would then receive any announcements on your feed that could potentially be relevant to share or discuss during your interview that could set you apart from other candidates who have not taken the time to be as knowledgeable about the company as you have. The more interest you have, the more your feed becomes a tool to share information, trends, opportunities, and insights within the field. When it comes to this interest feature and section, the more you are connected, the more potential those connections have to help you. The last feature I wanted to discuss regarding how to create an effective profile is the request a recommendation option. So this essentially gives you the opportunity to have stellar references right on your profile for all recruiters to see. These recommendations can come from faculty, peers, or managers from previous positions. Basically, anyone who has had a good experience working with you is a potential recommendation. Now, this feature is not meant to have all of your friends go on and say nice things about you. These peers that you ask for recommendations should be people that you have worked on a team project with, or within a student organization, a colleague from an internship experience, or maybe it's somebody that you tutored and you were able to help them understand difficult material. Remember, LinkedIn is a professional network, and while having recommendations can be very helpful, it can also be very hurtful if not handled in a professional manner. So moving on to, now that we've got your profile ready to go, now it's time to learn how to look up jobs and positions. And so the way that I encourage students to think about looking for jobs is to work smarter, not harder. So sitting behind your desk for 8 hours a day applying to jobs is not going to be the most effective way of finding an opportunity that's a best fit for you. Instead, what I recommend is customizing your job search so that you can target opportunities that are aligned with your skills and with your goals. So the way that you look for jobs on LinkedIn, it's right on that main menu. You're going to click on jobs, and then you're going to search something before you can then filter it. So what you'll see is I've searched data science in California, and I'm going to take some time to go over some of the filters that you'll see, and then maybe some of the filters that you don't see right off the bat. So the first important filter is the date posted. It's so important that you utilize this because sometimes companies will forget to take down postings after the position has been filled. And with the pandemic, it has been a bit unclear of whether or not a posting has been placed on hold or if a company is actively hiring for that position. So the more recent the posting, the more likely that that role is being actively recruited for. My recommendation is to filter to the previous month and then adjust accordingly based on how frequently you are searching for new postings. Being able to filter by experience level ensures that the roles you are applying for are aligned with your skill set and also with the positions that you're looking for. So again, it's not about the amount of jobs that you apply to, it's about finding the jobs that are aligned with your skill set so that as you move forward, you're spending that time as efficiently as possible, focusing your attention on roles that you are qualified to apply for. So when you filter by company, this is helpful if you're interested in finding a position with a specific company. But that being said, please make sure that you widen your search beyond the large companies you're aware of. There are many companies utilizing data science that you may not know about, and allowing your search to be inclusive of all companies will cast a wider net for opportunities that you may not have found otherwise. When we look at job type for our alumni and the students that are about to graduate, this filter is a great way to focus on full-time employment opportunities. For students that aren't graduating and you have some flexibility on what type of opportunities you're looking for, you can either focus on one at a time, or you can look at multiple job types and then compare your options based on the results. Now, LinkedIn features, this is a new filter that's been added during the pandemic, and I think it's awesome. There are two specific features that I will be focusing on a little bit later to go a little bit more in depth. Those will be the Easy Apply filter and the In Your Network filter. But for now, I do want to focus some attention on the All Filters option, because this will give you a full view of how to customize your search with expanded options that aren't included in that main menu that we just went over. So here you can see that you can either search by most relevant, search by most recent. It goes over all the different filters that we just reviewed, along with location. But when you scroll down, you'll actually see an expanded list. And of this list, the three that I really recommend prioritizing and using for your filter are industry, job function, and title. So again, it's really about targeting your search, really seeing what's out there, and really making sure it's aligned with your skills and your long-term goals. So going back to the LinkedIn features. So Easy Apply. So when you are typically applying for a job on LinkedIn, when you click the apply button, it will usually take you to the company's job site. However, when there's an Easy Apply option, that lets you apply without leaving LinkedIn. When you click Easy Apply, a pop-up like this will appear. LinkedIn Easy Apply applications are pretty straightforward. They typically feature a drop-down to select your preferred email address, a place to enter your phone number, and an option to upload your resume. Occasionally, you'll be taken to a new page that will include a few extra fields, such as work authorizations. Now here you can get a glimpse of what an employer sees when you apply through the Easy Apply feature. The View Critical Match shows the recruiter a breakdown of how well your profile aligns with the job description. The skills section is made up of the keywords you entered into your skills profile section, as well as words you used throughout your profile. Therefore, if you're interested in using the Easy Apply feature, you need to make sure the skills section of your profile and your profile in general is as complete and comprehensive as possible. The second feature I want to focus on is the In Your Network filter. This is the perfect way to customize your search to focus on opportunities with a connection within your network. So for example, here you can see I have 3 connections to this one posting. From here, I can reach out to these connections for an informational interview to see what it's like working there and to set the right expectations for myself before moving forward with the application and interview process. So let's dive a little bit deeper into not just finding the right connections, but utilizing those connections, since that's really what LinkedIn is all about. Under the My Network tab, you can review any incoming invitations you might have, and below that, you'll see suggestions based off your existing network, associated companies, and interests. So again, The more interests you have, the more LinkedIn works for you to make recommendations to build your network. When you click connect in this section, it won't allow you to create a personal note with your invitation. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about why that's so important to do a personalized note. And so instead, what you want to do is use this section to then access people's personal profiles. The same logic applies when you search for people on LinkedIn. Maybe you heard about a person, or maybe you're searching for a specific position and you want to find somebody within that company. Clicking connect by going through the search page, that will instantly send an invitation with the default note, and we really want to avoid that. So instead, once you get to that person's profile, you want to click on that blue connect button at the top with their name and other details. Typically, most profiles have this button right on the main menu. That said, some LinkedIn users do have customizable profiles, and they've actually moved that button to a different menu. So for these profiles, you'll want to click more to reveal a way to connect. So it's not that you can't connect, it's just a different way to find that way to connect with them. When you're on a desktop or a laptop, clicking the connect button on someone's profile will then give you the option to add this personal note with your invitation. So again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to customize that invitation and why it's so important in just a minute. But before I do that, I do just want to take a minute to talk about the mobile app. So whether you don't have access to a desktop or laptop, or you do, but you're just on LinkedIn on your phone, it's really important to understand that when you click connect on the LinkedIn mobile app, even if you're on that person's profile, it will always result in an instant connection request without a note. So I want to make sure you're aware of that, because sometimes it can be surprising if you're used to working on it on a laptop and then all of a sudden you can't make that customizable message and you've missed that opportunity to really tailor your invitation to somebody that you're really looking forward to connecting with. So instead, on the mobile app, what you want to do is tap into that person's profile, tap the more menu, and then tap personalized invitation. So just keep that in mind as you're working on, different types of software and applications. So you're getting ready to send your first message. Let's go over the things to avoid. Number one is sending a request without a message. So like I said, this is something that we really want to avoid, because while it's convenient that LinkedIn provides a general message for each request for you, it can be the first indicator that you requested to connect with somebody without putting much thought into it. And that's really important, especially if this is, somebody that is maybe higher up at a company and they get a lot of requests. When they see that you didn't take the time to customize your message to them, they're not as likely to accept your request. Number two is sending a message without doing your research. So before you click that message button, make sure you check that person's profile to make sure that there are no specific requests about messages or connections. So for example, maybe they only want to connect with people that they've met already in person. Maybe they would prefer that you contact them via email. These are things to figure out beforehand, because it could keep you from getting a response from that person when all it would have taken was a quick glance at their profile. So additionally, sending a message without doing your research, that just gives off the wrong first impression, that you didn't care enough to put in that extra effort, that you didn't even look at their profile before trying to connect with them. So always, always, always take a glance at their LinkedIn profile, or even do a quick Google search. Taking the extra few minutes to know a little something about the person you're reaching out to will serve you better than just being someone who requests to connect with them, immediately or quicker than somebody else. Number three is sending just a general message without any kind of personal touch. So it's much easier to kind of break the ice with somebody when your message is tethered to something career related or personal than just something generic. My advice is that everybody loves a compliment. And so maybe you point out a piece of work or a post on their profile or on a different social media profile that you enjoyed, so that you can give your message a little something extra. Number four is being vague. So if you send a request to a potential connection and simply just introduce yourself, they may not be entirely sure what you're looking for from their connection. If you're clear about what you want up front, you're more likely to get an answer in return. Number 5 is being unprofessional. So I know that we live in a digital age where with social media and emojis, trust me, I love emojis and smiley faces as well. But it's easy to forget that even a quick message on LinkedIn still needs to be professional. So make sure you use proper grammar, you use professional language when writing your note, and leave those laugh out louds for Instagram. Number 6 is sending before rereading. So I just did this in the chat. I just sent a quick message and then I read it after the fact, and there was a misspelling in there. And so take it from me, it's so much better to just take that extra few minutes to reread things before you send them. Especially if you've just met that person. It's all about that first impression. So if you're somebody who, like me, is tempted to just send things off quickly, something that's worked for me in the past is actually, when I have the time to do so, to write my message in either a Word document or a Google Doc or even a notes on my phone before sending. Another thing you could consider is using the Grammarly extension for your web browser. It catches spelling and grammar mistakes without needing to create a document to do so. So take those few extra moments to reread your message, then take an extra few moments to step away from your computer or put down your phone. And then when you return, take that second look. And once you're satisfied, then hit send. And last but not least, please do not ask for a job from somebody that you don't know. I have never met somebody who has handed out a job to a stranger that they've never had any contact with before. Also, chatting with people on LinkedIn, that's not really the purpose of it. It's really to build your connections, build your network, utilize these people for knowledge and advice and information. So when you're connecting with somebody, I know you're really excited. I know, there's this potential of maybe they could offer me the job, and maybe they will, but not if you ask right away. So first, ask to chat, use that initial conversation to gauge what the company is like, what the person may or may not like about it, what sort of experience their company is looking for. And then if and only if they offer to take a look at your resume or to pass it along to somebody there who's hiring, thank them and then pass it along. But it's really important that you wait for them to extend that offer. Otherwise, you might burn a bridge with somebody that really could have given you some really helpful insight into the hiring process or into the company culture. So now that we've gone over what not to do, let's talk about some tips to make sure that you have a successful message. So it's important to think through what specifically you want out of this correspondence beforehand. So take a minute to think to yourself, what would be the optimal response I'd receive from this person if everything were to go perfectly? And then from there, how can this message open that door for that response? So what I recommend is to draft your message by separating out an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, where within that message, you explain who you are, why you're reaching out, and briefly what you want out of the correspondence. So again, the name of the game is being brief. Your message should really only be a couple sentences. Trust me, I think you're all wonderful and great, and I love hearing about you and learning about you, but no one on LinkedIn wants to read an 8-page summary on the life of someone that they don't know or don't know very well. So to make sure that you have a clear, concise, successful message, the first tip for success is to start out with a specific title. So before you write the message, again, ask yourself, how do I know this person and why am I reaching out to them? Is this somebody that I already know and I want some advice from? Is this someone I share a contact with and want to know more about? Or maybe is this a total stranger with whom you're hoping to connect with for the first time? That information will really delegate the way that you craft your message and the way that you create that specific title of the message. So to give you some examples, following up from last night's event is much more likely to be read than following up. Or fellow data engineer interested in urban transportation reform is better than loved your speech. And something like we talked about, don't be general, don't be vague, something like mutual contact, especially if it's somebody high up, they must get that all the time. You want something that's going to grab their attention and make them want to open your message. The second tip for success is to introduce yourself. So I know we've been living in this virtual world for a little bit, but take yourself out of that. And when you talk to somebody or approach somebody in the non-virtual world, you always introduce yourself. And so you want to follow that same type of behavior within LinkedIn. So for example, hi, I'm Margaret. We met at the HDSI 2-year anniversary event. Or, hi, I'm Ayush, and I loved your latest blog on climate change. Don't skip this step. It's really important. You really should never assume that your contact will just click on over to your profile to learn more about you and see how you're connected. So be proactive, also be respectful of that other person's time, and write that quick intro. So again, whether this is a sentence about your mutual contact or where you've met before or your shared background, tailoring that intro for the specific contact shows that you're serious about connecting with them. The third tip for success, again, the shorter the better. So, especially when it comes to emails or messages, people are time crunched and you can really lose their interest just as quickly as you got it if you segue from a concise intro into a drawn out monologue of why you should be connected or a lengthy explanation of your resume. So keep this in mind as you craft your second paragraph, that body, that meat of your message. Quickly dive into why you're writing, and saying, hey, I just want to connect, that's not really giving them something substantial. So really think about to yourself, why do you want to be connected? Do you love their content that they post? Do you love the products that they're working on at their company? Do you just want to talk to them about their background for some advice? Again, if you're upfront, if you let them know what you're looking for, you're more likely to receive that information in return. And last but not least, certainly not least, say thank you. Remember, you are asking this person for a favor and you don't know them well enough to call them or email them outside of LinkedIn. So that thank you at the end of your message is going to be really crucial. So with this all in mind, I've created 2 examples just to kind of give you an idea of what all I'm talking about. So here you'll see an example message for somebody that's already within your network. So, hi, fellow Triton. I noticed that you graduated UC San Diego a few years ago, and you currently work at Amazon as a data engineer. So, number one, that's your connection. You're both they're a UCSD alumni, and you're a UCSD student. As a junior data science major with the Collegiate Data Science Institute at UC San Diego, I would appreciate the opportunity to connect with you to learn more about your path into data science. Specifically, I am interested in discussing the machine learning work you are currently doing as it relates to sustainability and how I can utilize my UCSD courses and resources to help me prepare for a similar career path before graduating. There's your why. There's that meat of your message. I can be available Monday, September 21st or Friday, September 25th between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for a quick 20-minute phone conversation. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope to hear from you soon. So again, that thank you. So I do just want to point out why I included specific days and times. So something I've talked a lot about with students is when you say, whenever is convenient for you, you're trying to be polite, but really what you're doing is you're creating work for that person that you've reached out to, because now they have to look at their calendar, they have to figure out a time, they know there's going to be back and forth about figuring out how to connect, and that right there is enough to have somebody not respond to you. Whereas when you offer specific days, you create some urgency of, oh, they're expecting to hear from me next week, I need to let them know. But you also made this interaction so much easier for them. Oh, let me see, am I available those times? I am, sure, no problem, quick 20 minutes, no problem. So I really recommend that you frame the way that you contact somebody in your network with a specific day and time so that it gives you a better chance of actually hearing from them and moving forward with that connection. Now, when you're connecting with somebody outside of your network, hello, so-and-so, my name is Ayush, and I'm reaching out because I could use some advice. I'm currently a sophomore, or I'm currently starting my sophomore year at UC San Diego as a biology major, pursuing a minor in data science. So there's your introduction of yourself. I recently watched your TED Talk, Data and Disease, and I found what you had to say about utilizing data to find insights within medicine particularly interesting. Specifically, your idea of how data scientists can collaborate with healthcare professionals to conduct predictive analysis for cancer patients was very inspiring for a young student who has a strong passion for utilizing data science for good. There's your compliment. I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss this concept more in depth, along with any advice you have for how I can best leverage my education and resources to prepare for an impactful career. There's your why for reaching out. If you would prefer to connect outside of LinkedIn, you can email me at somethingucsd.edu to set up a quick 20-minute phone conversation. Thank you for the work that you do, and I hope to connect with you soon. There's your thank you. So one thing to keep in mind is when you're reaching out to people outside of your network, some people are very particular about the way that they connect with people. So this is the type of message that you would have in the customized invitation that you send to someone outside of your network. This way, if they don't want to include you in their network because they don't know you yet, you're preventing that issue of them saying, well, I don't want to accept because I don't know them, and now all of a sudden that conversation with them never happens. Instead, you're giving them the option of, hey, you know what, if you don't want that in LinkedIn, then here's my email and we can follow up outside of there. And that way you're giving them that option, and you're still creating that opportunity to connect with that person, to learn more and discuss the advice that you're looking to get. So I know this is a lot of info. I see some questions coming up in the chat. And so Ayush is going to help me out with kind of moderating some of the questions. So if you've had anything come up during this time, please, feel free to type it into us, and I will answer them live for the rest of the time that we have. We have about 20 minutes left, so please don't hold back. I'm here and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Cool. Thank you, Maggie. So we have a question here in the chat. It's referring back to one of the messages you had written earlier for connecting within your network. They say that there is a 300 character limit, which also includes spaces, which LinkedIn enforces for when you're sending personalized invitations. So would that still work if you're connecting with other people?
That's a really good question. So this, I was thinking you're already connected, and so this is the message that you're sending because it offers a wider amount of characters. But that's a really great question and a great thing to point out. So that's where you would maybe just you would use your Word doc or your Google Doc, right, to kind of write out what you want to say and then shorten it up to that invitation. So thinking on the spot here, what I would say is for that invitation, I would say, hi, I'm looking to connect with you as an alumni. I'm currently a data science student, and I would really love to learn about your path into data science. Please connect with me so that we can continue this conversation. And then once they accept, that's when you could write a fuller message. Thank you so much for accepting my request. I'm so excited to learn more about the machine learning work that you're doing as it relates to sustainability, and how I can maybe utilize my courses and resources to prepare me for a similar career path. So in that sense, I would recommend, I'm a big fan of kind of never erasing anything. So maybe you have like an ongoing Google Doc, and with each desired connection, you kind of separate your invitation and your message. That way you have a reference so that you're not being redundant or you're not re-saying the same thing. And that way you can kind of take the opportunity to take a step back and say, this is me saying why I want to connect, and then this is me saying why I want to have a phone conversation.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a great way to answer that question. Yeah, we have a couple more questions now. Next one is, could you please go over the recruiting timeline for data science specifically? Is it similar to software engineering? I think that's a question You can answer that too if you want, Maggie, but I know that I think for our next event with Nick Singh, I think he'll go over that a lot.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for next week. So Nick Singh, he's actually writing a book about data science interviews, and I'm really glad that this question came up because I know that really the resources data science students have right now are to really kind of look at software engineering. And that's where the data science program last year, we actually had one of our instructors who is still working as a data scientist do like a 2-unit pass no pass class on like technical interview prep for a data science interview. So next week it'll dive a little bit more into depth, but typically what you'll see is I think the way I would describe it is like the structure itself is going to be pretty similar where you submit your resume, there's maybe a phone screen, they bring you in for a technical interview, and then they have that more in-depth interview. But I think what's maybe a little different is what they're looking for in those things. So in the conversations I've had with practitioners and with recruiters is that sometimes they give you a technical question and they don't even care if you get the right answer. What they're looking for is, are you communicating your thought process? How are you handling this problem solving? Are you freezing up because you can't remember, a math equation that you need to remember? And so someone actually gave that as an example of, the person said, oh, you know what? I can't remember, but I know that it's this. And that really shows that when you're in the workplace, you would know what to look for and what to look up and how to kind of overcome that hurdle instead of, oh no, I don't know, I don't remember, I've failed, and then kind of going down that self-doubt road. And so I think that, like I said, in terms of the structure, you can kind of have the same expectations of a timeline, but in terms of things that they're looking for, I just attended the board meeting, and so some of the behavioral traits that the top data scientists of our industry partners were saying they were looking for was a curiosity and an ability to problem solve, because again, they know that throughout your academic experience, you're giving things to solve and the instructor's looking for a specific answer to be like, okay, you got the right answer for the homework question. But a lot of students have a really difficult time transitioning out of that into the real world when the questions you're trying to solve, there's a reason they don't know what the answer is. And so how do you handle that and how do you work through that? And so just keep that in mind as you're preparing. One of the things I recommend, I think it's really wonderful when students kind of look back and review notes or classes or online content. What I recommend is, say you get like a practice problem, whether from a previous homework assignment or that you found online, practice solving it out loud, because that's what they're looking for, and it's awkward and you're used to being in the library and being really quiet. And so really take advantage of the fact that we are kind of home and isolated, and you're not going to embarrass yourself because no one's really around. And so use that as a time to really practice explaining what you're doing as you're doing it, so that the first time you're going through that experience, it's not in this like high anxiety situation where you feel like all these recruiters are looking at you, because they are. So that would be my advice for how to prepare. That would maybe be a little different than some other fields within within tech.
Yeah, that's a great point that you brought up. And I think the class that you mentioned before that was taught by Colin, a
Yep.
very great professor, works at Seismic. And I think someone listed his website within the group chat, www.dsc90.com/schedule. So for those that want that like technical practice or just to see how the curriculum was, you can go to that website and it's all there right now.
And that's a great thing with Zoom and utilizing your network of your peers. Is just because you're home, you're not alone. So you all have Zoom, set up a Zoom call and be like, okay, I'm going to do question number 1 and I'm going to just say out loud what I'm doing. You can do question number 2 and just use each other for practice and for feedback. Like I said, it's awkward and people are in different time zones and in different setups, but if you can connect with your peers to use each other, still try and find a creative way to make that happen.
Yeah, sounds great. Our next question is, if you're interested in applying for a job at a particular company, when would be a good time to mention that, if not the personalized message?
That's a very good question. So it kind of depends on who you're reaching out to. So I think that it's the way that you reach out. So it's not saying, "Hey, I'm interested in this job. Can you help me out?" It's, "Hey, I saw that you are working in the data science team. I just learned about this role and I'm really excited about it for XYZ reasons." So that's one piece of advice, is the more specific you can get, the better, because that, again, that's getting away from that being vague or generic avoidance things, and getting into specifically why you're excited about it. And then maybe ask them, I would really appreciate the opportunity just to learn about what data science looks like at your company. That right there, that sentence, "I want to know what data science looks like at your company," that's pretty good for really anything, because that's like the nature of data science, right? Is it can look very different depending on the companies. The roles can be called different things, but you could, maybe the same role is it's the same title at each company, but the expectations are very different, or they're different roles, but it's the same type of work. And so that's really part of this information gathering and this informational interview that you can request through LinkedIn. Some people are more active on LinkedIn than others. And so just make sure that you don't get down on yourself if you don't get a response or something like that. A new focus with my role is getting these alumni more connected, because even though we just had our first cohort, there are a ton of UCSD alumni that have found a way into data science. And so I have a focus on really bringing them and connecting them with you all to share their insights. But that's the way I would recommend doing that, is you find this role at this company, find an alumni, a connection at that company, reach out. One thing that alumni really like is hearing what's new on campus. And so the fact, if you are a data science major, being part of the institute is really exciting for them to hear about. A lot of them are like, "Man, I wish that was there when I was there." Or if you're part of DS3, "Hey, I'm part of this data science student society. Oh man, that's so cool. I wish that was there when I was there." You've got two really awesome things to rely on to kind of pique their interest. And then from there, just really, approach it as, "I would really love to just learn more about what that looks like, and what I could expect if I move forward with my application." And so that's where you can put in that specific role without putting pressure on them of like, "Help me get this job." A lot of times when you reach out to people on the data science teams, they're actually not involved with hiring. And so when you approach them saying, "Hey, help me get this position," that's why they don't reply, because they have nothing to do with it. And they think, "Oh, I can't help them." But when you approach it as, "Hey, I would just really like to learn about the way your data science team is structured and what this role is responsible for, and maybe opportunities for growth, if I start with this role, where that could lead to in your company," that they can talk to you about. Once you open that door, you give them the chance to talk to you, to learn more about what you're learning, the skills that you have. Then that could potentially lead to a more, natural and organic offer to, "Hey, you know what? The more I've learned about you, I think you're such a great fit. Why don't you send me your resume and I'll pass it along?" That is much more likely once you've given the chance to learn more about you. But even if that doesn't happen, you've still used that connection to gain information, to build a better understanding for yourself. And who knows, maybe they aren't involved in the hiring process, but during their team meeting, they're saying, "Hey, we're going to hire for this new position. Do you guys know anybody?" "Actually, yeah, I just connected with this UCSD student." That happens all the time. So, you might not get that immediate gratification, which I know that, we're really used to in the technology age that we're in. And so rather than thinking of, what can I get? What can I get right in that moment? Think of, how can I kind of plant this seed to either help myself grow or potentially help this opportunity lead somewhere? And the more seeds you plant, the less focused and less attention you give to each individual connection, And the more opportunities you give yourself.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, patience definitely a virtue.
Yes.
Cool. So our next question then, we have two more questions for you, Maggie.
Sure.
How do you recommend advocating yourself and selling your abilities and willingness to learn when your resume and experience in that particular field is limited?
That's a really wonderful question. So, first things first, I know it doesn't feel like this because for entry level positions, they want like 20 years experience. Just so you know, there's a lot of conversation around that in my field of like, stop doing that. Entry level should be entry level. And so, the main thing to focus on is the skills. And if you feel like you have those skills that are listed, move forward with applying. Don't be an obstacle for yourself because there already are a lot of obstacles out there. And so if that's the one thing that you don't meet, the years of experience, then still move forward with the application. The way that you kind of advocate for yourself of, I may not have the experience, but I have the skills and the desire to learn, that's where your cover letter comes into play. I recently had a meeting with a student and she said, "What's your opinion on this? I know there's a lot of back and forth." And for me, there is no back and forth. If it gives you the option to write a cover letter, write a cover letter because that is your opportunity to set yourself apart. Because every resume, as someone who's looked at a lot of resumes, like I said, I think you're all wonderful, but after a certain amount of time, they all look the same. But a cover letter, someone who can really show me that they understand how their skills, their education, their training has prepared them, and then they communicate that last. So for a cover letter, you've got like your intro, your body, your conclusion. Your intro is expressing your interest. Your body is explaining why you're qualified. That conclusion, that's your real opportunity to advocate for yourself, to say, I really look forward to this opportunity to continue developing my skill set. I see this as an opportunity for growth, and I look forward to growing beyond this role. Or I love what your company does and I want to be a part of it. Something like that to really show that you care about that job, not just any job. That's really a wonderful opportunity to show that you took the time, to show that you care enough, and to really help them see that, don't discredit yourself where you say, I know I don't have a lot of experience. They don't need to know that. What they need to know is that you want to learn. And something that a recruiter once shared with me is that they had two applicants. One was more technically skilled, but kind of felt like they already knew everything, whereas the other one wasn't as, technically sound, but really expressed a desire and an excitement to learn. And they went with the second applicant for that very reason. You can really teach people skills. I think what's important for you all to know is that a lot of the training and education you're receiving through your program at UCSD, most people didn't get until they were on the job. And so that ability to be teachable and coachable and that desire to continue learning and developing, that really will set you apart. And sometimes all it takes is just taking advantage of the cover letter just to express that. And maybe if it's during like a short recruitment moment, that you say, I see that this role really focuses on that. I really enjoyed and excelled that when I learned it in this class, and that's what I'm most excited about, is to have that opportunity to continue exploring and developing my skills in that area. That's really where it's all about, the way that you frame it, and as long as you make that really known, that's the best thing that you can do for yourself.
Yeah, sounds great, Maggie. We have one last question. If anyone else doesn't have any other questions, you can still put in the chat. Our last question for you, Maggie, is how do you recommend maintaining these connections in a meaningful way rather than just having a one-off conversation?
Really good questions. I love your questions. Good job, guys, guys and girls, and them and everybody. So One thing that you can do, so this is where LinkedIn can be, you know, kind of cool, where you don't have to put so much effort into an individual connection. Instead, you can share posts, you can write an article. For example, I just saw one girl, she was like, hey, I had an awesome internship experience. I think I shared it in the last week's newsletter, or maybe it's going to be in this week's, but you know, she was like, I couldn't believe how human designed the IRS was. And I just think it's so cool. And I want to let people know that this is what we take into account when we design these systems. And so that right there, whether it's an experience, an interaction, something that's putting somebody in a positive light, you share that, you tag them, you post it. Again, once you have that connection, you start becoming on their feed, especially if you're active on LinkedIn. But if you are somebody that maybe that's just not your style, and you prefer that more one-on-one connection, one thing that I really recommend is, so LinkedIn is a great resource, but there's all these sources out there that can give you access to articles. So news, trends, announcements. That's the cool thing about tech, right? It's like everything's always evolving and there's always something new and exciting. And so if you find something, you know, announced or something shared or something that dives deep into an aspect of the role that you talked to this person about, or you know that they work in, send them that article. Hey, I hope you're doing well. I saw this article. I thought you might enjoy it. I specifically liked this part about it. You know, let me know if you'd like to chat about it sometime. That's one way to just, you know, keep the conversation going in a very genuine way, and on a mutually beneficial way. So it's not just, hey, let me know if there's any openings at your company. It's, hey, here's something really cool and exciting going on in the fields that we both share and have an interest in. That kind of keeps you on their radar. Another way that you can go about it is if you're working on a personal project. You know, I think we all really fall into that realm of feeling like something has to be perfect before we share it. But the really cool thing about data is it can take you in so many different directions. And it's really, you know, using projects to kind of show your potential as well. So maybe it's, hey, I'm working on this project. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm thinking about going. But from your experience, if you think that I could maybe go in a different direction, please let me know. Or, hey, I'm kind of stuck on this. I know you're probably really busy, but if you have the time, I'd really love to hear your opinion on maybe how I can work around this problem. Or, hey, I finally finished this project and I'm really excited about it. And I think it's really relevant to the type of work you're doing. I just wanted to share it with you. Let me know if you want to have a quick phone call about, you know, what I went through and maybe where I could take it in a different direction. So anything that's really genuine, anything that's based on a common interest, you know, articles, information, projects, those are really my two main suggestions.
Great. Yeah, those are really good suggestions right there. Yeah, I think we are done for today, Maggie.
We
Thank you very
are,
much
yeah.
again.
This has
We had
been
some great
great.
questions.
Yeah, thank you all so much for attending. This has been really exciting. So just to let you know, if you had, you know, friends that weren't able to attend, or friends that had to leave early or something like that, or again, I know it's a lot of information. If you want to kind of review some of the stuff that we went over, we will have the recording available. So we are kind of updating the Halijolu Data Science Institute website. So on this main menu, soon you will actually see career services. And so I'm going to start with this recording. I also have like a LinkedIn resource page with links and articles and additional helpful tips that will be included. I know DS3 is going to share the recording out as well. And just a few quick comments. Something that I talk a lot about with my students when I work with them is, wow, like, how do you know all this? Or, wow, that seems like common sense when you say it. And I'm like kind of equating my new role to like paying taxes. Like, everyone has to pay taxes, but no one really teaches you how to do it. And it's the same thing with finding a job. Everybody has to find a job, but no one really teaches you how to do it. And a lot of this stuff I didn't know until I did my training, and now I get the opportunity to actively continue learning about trends and updates. And so I'm really hoping that I can serve as like an informational sponge and just share this information with as many people as possible. So don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like, man, I don't know anything. It's literally my job to know this now. So LinkedIn itself prompts you. It has sometimes free trainings. It has articles about itself. So, the more you use LinkedIn, the more it actually helps you use LinkedIn. So definitely explore that as an available resource just to continue updating your profile, using the job search, using your connections to your advantage. And last but not least, I Google everything. A lot of what I shared was through LinkedIn trainings that I've done, but a lot of it too, like specifics about it, I just found on the internet. And so, if you're somebody that just kind of wants to learn more about this on your own, there are resources out there and available to you. But if you're somebody that this is maybe a little overwhelming or you don't know where to start, please, feel free to reach out to me through your virtual advising center. If you're a major or an alumni, please connect with me, and we can work one-on-one. And just know that, we are committed to supporting all students interested in data science at UCSD. I just don't have the bandwidth to meet with everybody. And so that's one of my first big projects is getting as much of this information public facing on the website. So keep an eye on your newsletter as I share information and resources, but also keep an eye on the website as I'll be, updating that as frequently as possible. We hope that you join us next week and the following week. And so excited to team up with DS3 and Ayush to make sure that we're getting this info out there and setting you all up for success with the approaching recruitment season. So thank you all so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next week on how to ace the data science interview with Nick Singh, former Facebook, Google, Microsoft employee who's also writing a book about data science interviews. That'll be 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll be sending out that Zoom link again. So keep an eye on your email and on your Facebook page.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Maggie. She's definitely a great resource to use. Maggie's helped me in the last 2 years, so feel free to reach out to her. She's really nice. In the group chat, I put in the DS3's website. So if you guys like these types of events or have any suggestions for us, feel free to reach out to any of the board members or to our email. We have our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and our Medium page listed there. So if you have any other questions or just want to reach out to other people, feel free to. But yeah, thank you again, Maggie, and hopefully we'll see you all next week.
Bye. Take care.